Hello and welcome to Crossroads. This is Belgahay's latest program and podcast, and my name is Nicolas Tavitian. Today I'm speaking from Yerevan in Armenia. On this program we'll be talking about Armenia and Europe. The Parliament of Armenia recently voted to start the process of joining the European Union. That is a big step. But what does it mean for Armenia? Is this a road to security and prosperity? Can the EU help Armenia resolve its most pressing problems? Or is Armenia too far, too small, and maybe too late? What Europe does Armenia actually want, and what Armenia does Europe itself want? Armenia is a country full of promise and also threatened with destruction. The choices the country makes can make the difference between death and survival. So it is important for all of us to follow closely, particularly when it comes to such a momentous choice as this, whether or not to join the European Union. But maybe you only have a passing interest in Armenia. This conversation should also be an opportunity to shed light on the European project itself. It can help us understand how Europe actually works and what it can really do. This podcast will help put the EU in perspective. You will find that far from being peripheral to the European history, to European politics, or to the European project, Europe's relationship with Armenia is particularly interesting. So whether you are an EU lover or a Eurosceptic, pro-Western or pro-Russian, a globalist, or a traditionalist, whether you think Armenia is in Europe or in Central Asia, and even if you still confuse Armenia with Albania or Romania and Armenians with Arameans, do join us to ask key players the hard questions. Our discussion starts in Armenia. We'll move to the center of the EU later to talk to decision makers there. It's now time for me to introduce our guest. He's particularly well placed to talk to us about Europe. He's been chairman of the Standing Committee on European Integration of the Parliament of Armenia. He has been in that position since 2019. He is both a lawyer and a historian by training and has studied at the Yerevan State University. But in 2015, he obtained a master's degree in European Studies at the prestigious European College in Warsaw. In the meantime, our guest had joined Pashinyan's party, Civil Contract, in 2015, and in 2018, soon after the Velvet Revolution, he joined the new government as spokesperson, as press secretary, and he was elected to parliament later in that year in 2018. Our guest is, of course, Arman Yeghoyan. Welcome to Crossroads, Arman.
Thank you, Nicolas.
You're very much at the center of Armenia's relationship with the EU because of the position, your position in Parliament, where these matters, your committee is where all these matters are discussed. I'm very happy to host you today and look forward to a very interesting discussion. I hope you will help us understand where Armenia stands in its relations with the EU. It's not always as simple, I think, as it sounds, and where we might be going from here. Let's start with a quick question about your background. You went to study European affairs at one of the prestigious European colleges in Europe, even though you have a different background in law and history.
Yeah.
What prompted that professional transformation?
Well, at that period of time in my life, there was some kind of a professional, I would say, or educational or aspirational vacuum. Generally, before leaving to Warsaw, I was working in the Ministry of Culture here for some 4 years, and I saw from within what is going on, how the decisions are made, etc., on the generally in the government. And somewhat, I would say that somewhat I was even back then in opposition, but specifically at that period of time, I was somewhat disappointed with how decisions are made. So I was looking for something new, and I came across the advert in the net about the College of Europe. So I saw that it requires knowledge of French, and I did speak, and I do speak French also. So I decided to apply. I applied, and I got in. So yeah, and
Excellent.
It was a very valuable experience for me, and knowledge, and the overall environment, students, profs. So it changed, I would say, the way that I was looking at the world, towards the world, and at the way I was looking inside here in Armenia at our problems.
How did it change your thinking?
Because I learned that we are not the problems that we have are not exclusively applicable to us. It's not something unique, that many nations have problems around the world, even the nations that are not in everyday news streams, and their problems are not broadcasted every day. So even European nations, EU member states, they have some, there are some issues down there, which should be addressed. And sometimes these issues are very tough. We had study trips.
To compare Armenia to other countries.
Yes, of course. We had 2 study trips when studying in college. One to Baltic states, all 3 Baltic states, and the other one, there were different groups. One went to Africa, the other one to Moldova, Ukraine, the other one to Georgia, Armenia, and I was in the last one, the third one. So we met decision makers, policy makers in these countries. Also, we studied the environment, the history, the insights.
Would you say that it made you into a supporter of the European project? A Europhile, whatever you call it?
Well, I got to know about European project at all from there. I didn't, as I know it now. Before that, European Union was a coalition for me, a coalition of states, and I didn't know much about how decisions are made there, what is the aspirations, what are the global aims of this union, etc., etc. So I got to learn about this in the college, and it was very interesting experience for me. Yeah.
So do you think Armenia should join the European Union?
Well, the short answer is yes, but there is also a long answer.
What would the long answer
how be? And when, the timing, etc., in which context, which pace,
so the answer is not as
et
quickly as possible, is that what you're saying?
Well, still as quickly as possible might be rather long. As quickly as possible doesn't mean next year or in 2 years. In matters like this, I wouldn't prefer to use terms like as quickly as possible. Because if you say as quickly as possible, it means that everything is already, all the frames are already there, all the variables are visible, everything is decided, and you just need to go as quickly as possible, as if it's raining outside and you should go to home as quickly as possible. In this kind of complex issues, we cannot say as quickly as possible, as quickly as advisable, I would say, as quickly as advisable, as quickly as beneficial.
Okay. To put it another way, the government officials have said Armenia is prepared to get as close to the EU as the EU would let them, so to speak.
Yes, but the most important part, as the EU would let.
So it depends on EU political will.
Not only, there are two sides.
If the doors were open now, should Armenia...
Open for what? For membership?
Yes.
The doors cannot be open now for membership because Armenia is not a candidate state yet, and Armenia has not even signed an association agreement yet. For the current status of Armenia, the next step might be negotiating on a deep and comprehensive free trade agreement, which is the part of association agreement which Armenia hasn't signed. So if we use the term as quick as possible, we might talk about things like this, and then given the rhythm, the pace, to do the next
So
step.
what you're saying is the first step is the deep and comprehensive association agreement.
Yes, logically.
And after that only you can send a letter of application to the EU to say we want to be a candidate.
No, each, as the EU treaties say, each European state which shares the values enshrined in the founding treaties can have an aspiration.
So help me understand. The Armenia could apply to the EU tomorrow.
Theoretically, yes.
But it doesn't want to.
No, it's not that
Why?
it doesn't want
No.
to. No, it's a wrong statement. Because Armenia knows the answer. It's
Right.
a very simple thing. Of course, everyone can apply. For example, you brought the example of me studying in the colleges. Everyone can apply to the College of Europe. But those will be admitted, as like in my example, who speak French.
So, but
Just a little
Georgia
bit.
is a
So
candidate country. Why wouldn't Armenia be a candidate country?
I didn't say it wouldn't be a candidate. That's what I'm saying. So the sequence is the following. First, Georgia has signed an association agreement in 2013. Then they
Right.
worked on the implementation of this
Okay,
agreement,
so
and
the
only
association
then
agreement is a
and
precondition.
it's not a precondition. It's a necessary step that a country should do. There are the steps for European integration process. It's not that out of blue a country can become a member of European Union. First, those countries who are interested in deepening their relations with the European Union sign association agreements. It's classical agreement. All current candidate states, all 9 of them, has at a certain period of history signed association agreements. In Western Balkans, they were called association and stabilization agreements. In Eastern Partnership countries, they were called simply association agreements, part of which was the deep and comprehensive free trade agreement. So Armenia was negotiating on this agreement, but at the very last minute, you remember, the previous government stepped back from the association agreement, so we signed the renegotiated text of the association agreement without the DCFTA, Deep and Comprehensive Free Trade Agreement part.
Right. Look,
Voila.
I really tried
So what I'm saying,
I'm
in
trying
order
to
to walk the stairs, you should just
yes,
walk
but
it one by one step at a time.
I'm trying to read the government's position, which
Yeah.
is not very clear, I must say.
What I'm saying is not a government position. It's just the logic how things are done in European Union.
And what is the government's position?
The government position is that we should follow that logic, step by step. It's not that it depends on us. It depends on the process of European integration as it is defined in treaties and in other relevant documents.
So the complexity of Armenia's geopolitical situation, the conflict between Russia and the West, have nothing to do with what you're telling me and with the government's position?
With regard to this specific question, no.
No. So the fact that, you're going it step by step, as you say,
Yes.
the government wants to go step by step, has nothing to do with keeping Russia maybe not happy, on their good side.
It's just look what it means to be a member of European Union. It means to synchronize the institutions, synchronize the laws, the regulations, integrate markets.
Right.
This is what it is about. So European Union prepares states. Look at other candidate states.
So what you're
So
saying
that
is
their
Armenia is
economies
not ready. Is that what you're saying? Armenia is not ready.
Is
has
not
to adapt
ready
its
for
legislation,
what?
its
If you
institutions
finish
to
the
joining the EU.
This year, no. This year, Armenia cannot join the European Union.
Not even ready for submitting the application to join.
Armenia
the EU.
is ready, but the response will be what I am saying. What I am saying, we do not need to listen it from others because it's a classical process, as I said.
Right, and why would the response be negative?
I didn't say it would be negative. The response would be you should do
But you
first.
said we're not going to apply because the response will be no. You didn't say it in so many words, but you say we know the response. That's why we're not applying.
The response is you should do step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and step 5 is application. That's what I'm saying.
So it's
For example, or step 4 or step 3. We know that we should now do things that should precede the formal
and
application.
those are EU requirements. That's what the EU expects you to do, because
something
if you
universal.
haven't started with the association agreement,
it's not a political
work.
decision. It's the very nature of European integration.
Right.
Synchronizing economy, synchronizing regulation, something that we're already doing now,
Right.
according to the agreement that we have already signed with the European Union. Now we are working on the document that will develop our relations even further than our current existing document.
Right.
We are working on political level. We are synchronizing our, I don't know, you might have heard about the recent permit on exporting Armenian fisheries to the European Union. For example, the recent decision of Armenian government to subsidize customs for Armenian producers who would like to export their goods to European Union, which will eventually decrease their price and increase their competitivity, exactly.
Yeah.
So the things are there. Of course, we can send an application tomorrow, but still we will have to do all these things before this application is either adopted or not.
Right. So there's an agreement under negotiation, right, with the European Union?
Not an agreement in its classical sense, but a new partnership agenda, which is a political document.
Okay.
So it's not kind of a document that should be ratified in the parliaments. It's a political statement on the highest political level, which is now under negotiations. It's about our political agenda, as the title says. You want me to disclose all the articles?
Not all the articles, but what is it? What is it about? Trade? Is it about visa facilitation?
Visa facilitation. Since not a facilitation, but we already have facilitation, but liberalization. Visa liberalization. The dialogue on visa liberalization has already started last year, July. So the other issues like cooperation in the area of security with the European Union, something that is very new in our bilateral relations. Also trade, some political agenda, justice, reforms, democracy, human rights, investments, etc. So I think in upcoming months, the document will be finalized and signed and published.
And is that supposed to lead to an association agreement then?
That specific document specifically does not necessarily lead to association agreement. What I am saying is that if we, after the adoption of law that you were talking about, move towards the direction of becoming a member of the European Union, our next logical step should be the one that we have skipped. And that is the association agreement.
Yes, that we
because all the other steps
12 years ago now.
Yes, it doesn't matter. Even if 12 centuries ago, still it was skipped.
Yes.
So we should start from the point where the things stopped.
Yes. For those who wouldn't know, Armenia had the opportunity to sign an association agreement in 2013.
Yes, right? But then for some reasons that we know very well, Armenia stepped back. Back then, also Ukraine had very serious problems with regard to this document.
This is when the trouble started in Ukraine.
Yes.
In 24. Well, soon after this moment. So you mentioned the draft law.
Yeah.
That was adopted in Parliament, started by a civil society initiative.
Yeah.
So what was the Parliament's response to this proposal?
We adopted it.
Yes.
As is known already now.
Right.
Yeah.
What might be the consequences of that law?
Well, the law consists of one sentence.
Yes. As such. That I have here. The law says the Armenian Republic declares the start of the process of its accession to the European Union. That's the whole of the law.
Yes.
Yes.
Because that's what was drafted. So, yes, we made some minor changes regarding the technique of technique of drafting of laws. So, but what is new in this law is that it talks about accession process, not about just generally deepening relations, widening relations, etc., getting closer, etc., etc. But it directly says about accession, membership. This is
so it was welcomed in Parliament. Were there voices against the law?
Yes, of course. The other two oppositionary fractions were totally against.
On what grounds?
On the grounds that it's a geopolitical shift for which we are not ready yet. On the grounds that we, because of this law, we might lose something that we have and not reach something that we're aiming at, etc., etc. Mostly these were concerns regarding Russia.
So from what I understand, nobody actually opposing joining the EU per se as a goal, just fearing that the accession process would be dangerous.
In a nutshell, I cannot say on their behalf. I'm not sure whether they're against, because they do not respond these questions directly if we talk about opposition. But what they were saying was that now, in the most mitigated form, now is not the time. In the most mitigated phrasing, in the toughest phrasing, like it's dangerous, it's an apocalypse, it's the end of the world, etc., etc. Right. So, but the reason, as I could guess from their speeches, was not related to the process of accession per se, as you said, but on its implications vis-à-vis third parties, other states, other than EU member states and Armenia.
Yeah. So you mentioned that I'd like to return to the agreement, the political document that is currently under preparation, and that includes, among many other issues, I heard you, but it includes, among other issues, the question of security.
Yes.
So there will be security cooperation between Armenia and the EU. That is, of course, key, and it's on the public's mind. What kind of security cooperation can we envisage?
We already have security cooperation.
Tell us about it.
You know, the European Union monitoring mission that is in Armenia. We also consider it as a security measure. We are going to participate in CSDP missions, EU CSDP missions, common security and defense policy missions abroad. We are going to work on other areas. I cannot specifically say like on this matter or the other, but we are going to deepen, our cooperation on this matter. What I'm talking is about EU specifically, not to speak about EU member states separately, which is another track. Because not all the areas of defense are at the level of EU decision makers. Still, many areas are under national control. Defense, army, weapons, etc. We cooperate very closely with France. We buy weapons from France. We are not reluctant to buy weapons from other EU member states. We are open for it if they do not mind. So,
is there significant security cooperation with other EU member states, or is it considered?
It is considered, but the most significant one now is France.
Yes.
With the rest, we work.
Right.
In that direction.
You mentioned the monitoring mission. Of course, the monitoring mission on the border between Armenia and Azerbaijan from the outside seems to have made a very big contribution to Armenian security because now there is a tangible sign that the EU is interested in what's going on the border, which wasn't the case before. There's been a small contribution, material contribution, under the peace facility. In other words,
Yes.
Some small amounts of equipment have been provided, but it's very modest.
10 million, amounting 10 million euros.
Yes, in
the first tranche, and
in the
the
field of
second one
defense.
now is under consideration.
Right. And this was blocked by some of the EU member states. Or
The second one, you mean?
the peace facility.
The second tranche.
It took a long time. No, the first.
The
one.
first one.
Yes.
I wouldn't say it took long. Normally, it's in the council decisions are made in that way, and it's not that it was an easy decision for everyone. So I wouldn't say it was long. It was a normal pace of the council decisions. Of course, there were voices, reluctant voices in the council, but still it passed.
All right. The point is this blockage still in place?
Well, the one regarding the
to
first
hamper
one
security cooperation
was
in the
not
future?
in place. Otherwise, it wouldn't be adopted because decisions are made at consensus. For the further decisions on upcoming tranches, yes, there might be some voices against.
I think it took 2 years.
No.
For the first, between
No.
the first proposal by some of the member states to the council and the final approval of those 10 million, it took about 2 years.
I am not sure it take 2 years.
Yes, the first proposals were already in 2021 for the EU to provide.
These were ideas, simply. It was not a drafted proposal. In 2021, there were ideas to start cooperation in this field, but I do not
So you're
I do
saying
not think that
Hungary
it was
didn't block?
rejected. So
Hungary didn't block the decision.
I didn't say that. I said that it didn't take 2 years. This blocking
Okay.
was not that long.
Yes.
Of course, some member states were against, as I said, but ultimately they agreed. The fact is that all 27 member states agreed.
Eventually agreed.
Eventually, yes. But it's not surprising that some member states can be against. I mean, it's not a scandal because it's an aid. It's a foreign aid to third countries, and of course, some member states might be. It's their right to consider it twice, thrice. Of course, and it's our duty to work with them, to explain the situation, to explain our needs, and it's a normal political process. I do not want to blame on anyone.
Right. In Parliament, you said recently, I think, that it is good for small states to be a member of the EU. Small states give relatively little and receive relatively much from this structure.
Yes.
What did you mean by this? Could you elaborate?
I meant literally, small states, they give away less from their national, even financially. If you look at EU budget, if you look at what EU is doing, at where these money are spent at EU level, and if you look at specific countries that contribute to this budget, of course the money that is spent on small countries is more than they have contributed.
So you meant this mostly financially, in terms of financial contribution?
First of all, financially, because it's very important. Financial matters are very important when talking about supranational, because states, they give away a certain amount of their sovereignty, specifically in the areas which are the exclusive competences of the European Union, and which are decided at the level of the Union exclusively, or by the Commission exclusively. So they give away certain rights, member states. So it's very important what they receive in exchange.
Yes.
And what I was saying is that if you heard Eurosceptic voices, these voices normally come from richer states, from bigger states. The citizens of these states sometimes might ask questions whether we receive as much as we contribute.
Okay.
But for small states, it has never been an issue. Even Eurosceptic voices in smaller EU member states, they do not raise the question of membership.
So
Never.
Would it be right to interpret what you said in the sense that the small states facing large states, or rather are in a better situation to negotiate whether it's trade agreements, security agreements, collectively with large states than one-to-one? So the relationship in a union of 27, 28, 29 countries that are governed by a common system of law is more protective of the rights of small states than if they have to negotiate
in a way, if generalized too much, yes. But what I also meant is that let's take the common market, the common European market. So smaller states, they immediately receive access, unimpeded access, to the 550 million market.
That's right.
Without customs, without duties. So, of course, it's beneficial. And they receive products from there, again, at a cheaper price because there are no tariffs.
Yes.
And what I said is a well-admitted fact. It's not a scientific discovery. So it's everybody knows this. Because, normally the pan-European projects, if we take the roads, the pan-European, like electricity grids, etc., the mega projects, which are very costly, if all smaller states have done this one by one on the territory of each of them, it would cost them way more than it costs now, and they benefit from these infrastructure programs, and they also benefit from common European policies, because the policies, for example, common agricultural policy, for example, of course they benefit. Of course, in this case, the bigger states and bigger agricultural states like Spain, like southern states, they also benefit. But since there is a common policy,
economies of scale,
economies of scale, of course, but also look, for example, if there is a specific problem any year, anywhere, European Union can address that problem. One year it might be a problem with fishery, so they can substitute with some other resources, taking from specific countries and substituting to others,
yes,
and vice versa. So the bigger the union, the more flexible the decision-making problem.
Or if there's a fire in Greece, everybody can send their equipment.
Rather than if they were just decide
yes.
individually, they should have done it bilaterally, 27 states each.
Yes.
Rather than to discuss at the level of Commission, to ask the Council, and then have a decision, and done.
Yeah. Very important point. I'd like to ask you a question about the Armenian diaspora. There's a lot of Armenians in Europe. Many of them in influential positions, very articulate people in the media, in government, in all sorts of professions, in universities and so on. What would you say and many other professions, what would you say their role is in helping in Armenia in its relationship with the European Union? Is there a role for them?
Of course there is, but we expect them to promote the aims and the goals that Armenia has defined. This is what we expect from them, because very often the aims, and this is not only about Armenian diaspora, this is about all diasporas. Very often the objectives and the aims and perspectives of diasporas and states, respectively, the state that they are from, might differ, depending on the context, on historical context, how diasporas were formed, where this diaspora specifically lives. So it's the same with all diasporas. Not always the objectives and aims of the state and their diaspora match 100%. So our vision is that wherever the objectives and aims, they do not match 100%, we work on the part that matches. If our aims match 50% or 60% or 40%, we work on that part where our aims correlate, and we agree on disagreement in the other areas where we have different views, rather than to fight with each other, I don't know, and make it a scandal, etc., etc. I think there is a very big resources and room for negotiations, but it is diaspora that should calibrate their help, their support with our aims, and not the vice versa. If we are doing it for Armenian state, if we are doing for Armenian state, if we are talking about promoting aims of diaspora, that's another topic of which we can talk separately.
So what is the government doing to explain its objectives to the diaspora, to engage it in cooperation?
The government,
is there a
the
program
government,
of that kind?
the Prime Minister are talking 24 hours a day about our objectives, about our aims. We are presenting this situation. We are informing people about all the negotiations. So the sensitive parts, the sensitive issues with regard to views of diaspora. I mean, negotiations with Turkey, negotiations with Azerbaijan, and here again, we are 100% transparent. We say our aims, and it's open.
Are you reaching out, for instance, to these young professionals I'm talking about in the diaspora?
Specifically, you mean?
There's an entire new generation in the diaspora.
Yes,
that was born in Armenia or was born from parents who just left Armenia. They have now finished university. They're starting in their professional life. They have relatives in Armenia. They want to help. They have no political affiliation. They have no fight with Armenia. What are you doing to engage them?
For that, we have created specifically an agency, if I translated it correctly, though I'm not sure, of dealing with diaspora. At a ministerial level, not a ministry, but
the High Commissioner's office.
The High Commissioner's, thank you. The High Commissioner's office in charge for relations with diaspora, and the High Commissioner himself, he travels a lot, he meets these people, and what you said, I have heard also from him, that there is a new generation in diaspora. Diaspora also changes. Not all the narratives are politically affiliated with political parties working there in the diaspora. This we know very well. Yes, but at the same time, we should admit that there is no one diaspora. We talk about 6 to 7 million people around the globe. Not all of them is in one country, is in one institution. So we do our best to reach them out. But we also would, if they hear me now, we also would like them to reach out us if this is also a media to communicate with them. If they feel that the aspirations that we have, the political goals that we have are close to their heart and they can contribute to it, no problem. They can reach out to me. If someone hears me now in the diaspora, in Belgium, in Europe, please reach out to me and tell me how you can contribute to Armenia-EU relations, and we will discuss things over. Yeah.
So you heard him. He said, if somebody hears you,
feel
free to reach out to Arman.
Yes.
And I think we'll conclude on that, which are beautiful words. For all its faults, in Armenia, the political system is very open to the public. Arman, I can testify, is a very reachable man, as are many of his colleagues. Thank you, Arman, very much for sharing a moment with us, for sharing your thoughts. We understand you're a very busy man, and your time was highly appreciated.
Thank you very much. This is also the part of my job, and it's always a pleasure for me to talk about my duties and the work that I'm doing.